The following program does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts Fred and Janet Cox right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
And hello, good afternoon, good afternoon. Yes, it's another Sunday afternoon, 5:30 p.m., February the 19th, and my name is Fred Cox, and to my left is my co-host, Janet Cox.
Your friend.
Together, we are the Coxes. And it's Sunday, as I said earlier, it's our time to spend time with you. And once again, good afternoon to our listeners across Canada, the United States, and around the world. And thank you. Thank you very much for allowing us into your private space. Welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show. Got to say anything?
I want to say a very special thank you. As our listenership grows, we are, I remember just a short year ago when we first started, we were thinking, oh my goodness, can we do this? And here we are, a month later.
A lot bigger.
With a much bigger audience.
The numbers are growing and they're growing, and we thank you for that, because
and it's, we have had guests that are interesting, like the one we have today. We're going to talk with a really phenomenal young man. And I just want to say, heartfelt thanks and thank you every week for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Yes.
We couldn't do this without you. And of course, to our producers.
And our numbers are growing. They're growing exponentially. So thank you once again. Welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show. This and all our past broadcasts are on Spotify, YouTube. And all you have to do is to type in Liquid Green Health Show, and we will pop up, and you can, listen to the audio, or you can watch the video. If you're watching us on YouTube, we ask that you hit the like button, the share button, and the comment button, make a comment, leave a comment, and also hit the subscribe button as well, and give us a boost, because we really, okay? You can also check us out on Facebook Live. That's Facebook Live, Liquid Green Products, Inc., right, for Facebook. Also, you can write in with your comments about the show, who you like the best, whether it's myself or my partner.
Oh,
all right.
Yeah, right.
And I know I'm going to get, all the nice comments.
Well,
so,
you might, but I'm giving the cake.
Yeah. One more week away, folks.
And I just added more Jamaican white rum to the cake. So it is like phenomenal.
And I'm still searching for that cake still.
Exactly.
Make sure I don't find it, right?
Just don't dare touch it.
So send us your comments to liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. Please let us know where you're listening from, because, as I said earlier, we love your questions. We love your comments.
Yes.
And so please keep them coming. Now,
especially today, we really want to hear from anybody who is, once you hear the topic, anybody who's connected with, the institution we're going to be talking about. We really want to hear today. We want a lot of emails today.
Good.
Right?
So every Sunday, folks, every single Sunday at this time, we have a lot of fun in the air, because, we give tips, and we do it in an edutainment format. And it's designed to stimulate the mind and help bring us one step closer to living a healthier lifestyle. Now, what's happening in Canada this weekend? It's Family Day, and it's not a statute holiday.
Is it Canada?
No,
Oh, it's
in
Canada.
Ontario, it's called Canada Day. Sorry, Family Day,
But
right?
in other provinces, it has
Yeah,
other names,
it's
right?
celebrated on the third Monday of February, which is
Mhm.
tomorrow. And it's called Family Day. And I want to thank the government for that. You can't say you didn't get anything from it.
And I
Family Day,
believe-
it's not a national statutory holiday. It is only observed in a few provinces like New Brunswick, Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and in British Columbia. Other provinces, they have holidays that are similar, but they call it different names, right? In PI, it's Islander Day, and it's again celebrated at the same time, right? So since this is not a federal holiday, all federal workers must, I'm going to stress on that, must return to work, and it's good for them because they don't do any work anyway, right?
I'm not
They
going.
labor us with stress.
I'm not going.
So we're the ones that need the break, right? Okay, so tomorrow's a regular day for those workers.
Yeah, but Mike, what are you doing on Family Day?
I'm gonna be spending time with my dad, and I think that's a good thing. And then also my sisters too.
Oh,
So we're going to Montana's for supper tomorrow, and just play it by ear and see how things work out.
Right.
Nice
See,
steak,
he's a
right? Steak at
hardworking,
Montana.
he's a hardworking guy, so he deserves the break. The people that have to work tomorrow,
Like
you know.
Gary, I think you're working tomorrow, aren't you?
I am working all day.
Yeah, Gary's in a different category.
But
He's
Gary,
not.
you have to work, right?
I do.
You have to work like many, many days and
I
nights,
do.
but we won't go there.
So with that said, we have a guest on today, folks.
Yeah.
Our guest is a Montrealer. He's Montreal born. His name is Stephen Walker. He's an author and a former member of the Canadian Armed Forces. And during his time of service to his country, he was exposed to diverse people and lifestyles. It was there that he also experienced structural and other forms of discrimination, where even as an intelligence officer, he struggled with race-based traumatic stress and other psychological disorders, leading eventually to a medical release from the military. Currently, our guest, Stephen Walker, works as a life coach specializing in rational emotive behavioral therapy, REBT.
And he's going to have to explain what
He's going to have to explain what that is. And he's also the author of a futuristic novel series, Sunderman. Yes, Sunderman is the name. And he remains dedicated to social development and is an insightful man with raw sincerity. So here today to tell us all about that experience, his coping skills, and how it affected his health is our guest today, Stephen Walker.
And not just that, how he was able from that experience to turn things around and actually be the author of a book that I call, it's going to be a series. And folks, I'm going to show it to you early in the show, even before I introduce Stephen. And this book is not, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a pretty easy read, however, but as you can see, time has been spent. It's over 500 pages, right?
There it is.
The biggest book I read since that was The Complete Works of Shakespeare.
The biggest one I've read prior to that is Ancient Egypt, Echoes
of the Dark Land, right? That was what, 1,000 pages?
It was like 700 or 800 pages.
Yes. Anyway, Steve.
Ancient Egypt, Light of the World.
Light of the World.
Yeah.
We want to welcome you to the Liquid Green Health Show, and I have been looking forward to this. We met you through a connection in Montreal. That is the OFC. And Faro, what's Faro's last name?
Hamid.
Faro Hamid is the president of that group. And it's a fantastic group for business people to connect. It's a BNI chapter out of Montreal, but he's so well connected. And through this group, we were able to talk with you. Yeah. And when you called, it was like, oh my goodness, we have to bring you on. And we're really, especially during Black History Month, because it's still in February, your story is about a Black man who has gone through an experience that is not unique. And I say it's not unique because from time immemorial, Black folks, men and women and children, have been going through experiences that traumatic experiences that we would probably prefer not to have had.
Yeah.
So you were in the Canadian Armed Forces. How long were you with this institution?
Yeah, I like that you said institution. That's the best way to describe them. I was with.
By the way, thank you for your service.
I want to say you're welcome.
But
Welcome.
anyway, we'll leave it with
Yeah.
you.
So I was in the Canadian Armed Forces as an intelligence operator for 13 years, and I have to correct you guys. It wasn't an intelligence officer. It was intelligence operator was my title.
Okay. All right.
I was since 2002 or sometime they had stopped allowing people off the street to join the intelligence operator trade. So essentially I was the first person to join the intelligence operator trade off the street. It's not a trade that's open to the public. It's a trade that would have required 4 years of experience in another trade in the military before remustering to that trade. And
So what is the role of an intelligence operator?
Essentially, you take information. This is a bread and butter of it. You basically take information, you analyze and assess that information, and then you present that assessment to your commanders with a 24 to 72 hour expectation of events. So something.
And they will follow up. They will follow up based on the importance of that.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't know this yet, but our host here was also in the military in Guyana.
But not in that.
Not in intelligence. He and I laugh. I always laugh because I said, what's the point of an army who has never been to war?
Yeah.
But that's an inside joke.
Yeah, she always rubs it in, but
that must be tough.
She rubs it in all the time,
Yeah.
Okay, so you were there for how many years did you say?
Yeah, 13 years.
13 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And you just recently left.
I was recently medically released. I didn't leave.
You were released.
Yeah, I was still, yeah.
Okay, and I know that was because of, we're going to call it structural race, not racism, but discrimination.
100%.
Right, and we know that it refers, it's for folks who don't really realize, there are systems, there are institutions that perpetuate unequal treatment, unequal opportunities for individuals or groups based on their social identities, right? So here you are in the army and you're expecting certain things to happen. You're infused, you want to join, and I think you mentioned something even about the very process through which you were admitted, the questions they had about your exams. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, when I was first I did enlist in Montreal. So there was always the language barrier. So my first recruiter just gave me a headache, would not let me in. Like, just always, you should be a cook. Why are you trying for something that has value or something you want to do? So after 3 months of that, I ended up saying, put me in touch with someone who cares about the sovereignty of our country. And I think just the word sovereignty must have threw her for a loop. And I ended up speaking to an English speaking recruiter.
Right.
That recruiter, he came out, he was like, look, man, the only positions we have are steward, cook, and then there's this trade intelligence, but you need 4 years experience. So I said, it just so happens that's the trade I want to be in. And he was like, I don't think you could get it, but come in, do the aptitude test, and we'll take it from there. So I did the aptitude test, which to me is not really a test. It's not like, it's telling you if your math level or anything like that, or your economic level. It's just an aptitude test. So for me, it was just do the test, get it done. And at the end of that test, I was in a group of 12 people facing walls all around a room. And at the end of the test, they separated me from the group and brought me into a room and started to question me on how I was able to cheat on this test.
Kidding.
And I couldn't answer that. I was like, there's no cheating. You just gave me an easy test. It's not that hard. So they basically said that how it works with these aptitude tests. Whatever your score is, you keep that score. If you do it again and you get a lower score, you keep that score. So however many times you do it, you only get the last score. So they basically, through telling me that I had cheated, they told me that I've gotten an incredible score that they've never seen before, and I have to take the test again if I wanted to get in. I was like, this doesn't seem right. So they couldn't really push back against me because it was unlawful.
Right.
Okay.
So I essentially, with that score, was able to join the intelligence branch off the street. That's exactly how that happened.
All right, because you see, this is exactly what happens. It's like with structural discrimination, it's very difficult to challenge them, isn't it? Because it's so embedded.
So that would be, I would call that a symptom. I would actually call that a symptom. The structural discrimination aspect, the structural discrimination comes when you start to file policies and find how you're treated in that regard. But this, I would say, is a symptom of that structural discrimination, where it becomes so blatant that people can just outright, oh, well, you did this, you did that. And we are not very familiar with our information, even at the time. I was just lucky to have held my ground and to not buy into what they were trying to tell me, you know. But
that's good. Yeah. That's very good. The fact that you had the
strength, the fortitude.
Yeah, you have that desire, that will to stand up to what you're being faced with. How old were you at the time?
I don't really like to give my age, but I was in my early 20s. I was in my early 20s.
Okay, right. But then you got in.
Yeah.
You worked in the field.
Yeah.
Now, can you share with us some of the things between just some of the experiences that you had while you were there?
Well, wow. So
that's, like, you know, give us a couple of incidences.
So like you said, I was in. So now I'm in the door, essentially. When you're in the door, you still got to do your basic training. You got to do all the preliminary field crafts and stuff. And then you sit in this room or this place for a couple of months before you're put on a course with a bunch of other people trying to get into the same trade. So skipping whatever the first 3 months was, I'm in the door. I'm on my first course to be an intelligence operator, and it's discovered that I'm in off the street. And just off of that, there was a lot of bias, because a lot of these people, not a lot of them, all of them had over 4 years of experience in the military. Some of them had served in Afghanistan, and it made it very difficult for me just based off that. But when they found out that I was Black, I say I'm just straight Black. When they found out I was Black, you know, the term off the street now became it was used completely different, you know?
Like Frederick's t-shirt, ghetto.
Yeah, you look now as a product of the ghetto, right? Yeah. But I mean, the military, it doesn't matter what department you're getting into. The military is tough. The training is tough.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the race or the gender of the instructor. You're going to be hit with a lot of things that you wouldn't hear outside of that organization. You're going to be called names. You're going to be told all kinds of stuff. You're going to be told about your mother and your wife and all kinds of stuff, and you have to endure it. But when it came to what you perceived as being prejudice or racism, at that age that you joined, how were you able to handle it?
So yeah, it's exactly like you said. So I'm like a product of my environment. You know, I watch movies. I've seen it all. I've seen all the name calling and stuff. And you know, you grow up. I'm so respectful. I'm so proud of my father for his example, things that I've seen him go through. So I was prepared. I was prepared for the name calling. I was prepared for the jarring, and it didn't bother me. I was really tough. Like really tough. I was like head of the class when it came to athleticism and stuff like this, you know, all that stuff. It was just, I was expecting it. So I just pushed through that.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. So that part was the easy part.
But in the Canadian military, I think it was in 2015 that they actually did a review, because there were a lot of complaints from the LGBTQ community, as well as from women. And they actually came up with a rule that says, yes, the Canadian military, and this I took straight from the internet, was hostile to women and the LGBTQ members, and that there were significant barriers to career advancement for women and minority groups. But isn't that one of the things where, as a Black person, how different do you find it is? Like you're not female and you're not gay.
Exactly.
What's the difference? How does the Black minority fit into that category?
What's the difference? So I always think of it like this. It's like, and I'm sorry because I know that you probably have a large white audience, but I always look at it like this. Like the white guys are in control and they wanted to tell their wives, but their wives were trying to be too nice to everybody else. So they just didn't let them in on the joke. That's kind of how I look at it, right? The difference is exactly how you put it. The LGBTQ community, women, minority groups. So like they threw us in like that. So I'll give you an example of a time that I went above and beyond to support a group that had been stranded in a certain area. And we managed to get a team out there to go and support them. And we got out there and we're supporting, and I'm like really getting into the work. I'm really trying to help them out. And the crew that was there that was stranded, they kind of just stopped working. And then they said, yeah, you get to work, the N-word, whatever. And I had a tool in my hand at the time, and I turned and I was like, who said that? Who said that? Who said that? They all just turned their head, and there was a native guy there, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna bite the bullet on this one. Okay. So long story short, we got pulled away. My chain of command, my supervisor came up to me and he said, I heard what happened because it was blatant, it was out, everybody heard it. And he said, were you hurt? I said, no, I wasn't hurt physically. He said, so nothing happened to you? I'm like, well, they said that. There needs to be something done. He's like, well, there are different groups, doesn't matter. And then it was like, well, something needs to be done. He's like, we'll deal with it when we get back. So we get back to Garrison and I'm bringing it up again. And then someone said, if you want to do something about it, then find it in what you're talking about is Operation Honor. This was what was put out in support of eradicating sexual misconduct was Operation Honor. And there was nothing sexual in nature about this attack. I actually feared for my life. There was about 25 white men, one native individual who's going to bite the bullet, and myself. A lot of control, like I said, I was able to deal with the name calling, all this stuff, but now the systemic issue starts to take place. It's like they play ignorance, use Operation Honor because they're fed up of having to hear it from women. So now we don't want to hear it from a Black guy. Yeah. So there's the big difference right there.
And then you're dealing with people that are sometimes armed. So
I could not at any point in my career go on the range and practice without consider their ear marshal, the guy who makes sure that no one steps out of line.
Yes,
always guarded at all times by that individual, all the time, my entire career.
So that there's a constant fear there. Now, at what point did you realize that, hey, this thing is having an effect on me, on my physical health and my mental condition? What point did you recognize that?
Well, that came later. I'd started about 8 years into the military. I realized that I'm not advancing like other people are advancing. Like there are people who they do debaucherous stuff. One guy drove a vehicle through a glass building. He was reprimanded for a month, apologized, and was promoted up. And I thought that was completely odd. And I started to see a pattern where people would do debaucherous stuff or be belligerent. They rectify the situation and then they're promoted up. With me, I noticed that they had everything positive to say. They couldn't, not positive, but they couldn't say anything wrong essentially, because they have to write these reports, right? Every quarter, every year, they have to write these reports, things that you can improve on and things that you've done well. So they never had anything bad to say, except maybe with communication. Communication was easy because I didn't really always talk like this. I'm actually from the streets, I seen stuff. So I talked a little different, but it was when I started to see that they had nothing bad to say, but there was no room for advancement. Is when I started to see that something is wrong here.
Okay,
And that's where the systemic type of racism kicks in.
Yes.
Something that
the structural,
it's there, you're cognizant of it, but it's very difficult to prove.
right.
Yeah.
So do you believe, though, since they brought in the review for women and, you know, the LGBTQ community, do you believe it's working for them?
When you say them, I believe
For those groups, as opposed to, say, the black.
I mean, it's made it a lot easier to complain about stuff without feeling oppressed about it.
Okay.
I remember you were sharing a story with me when we were talking prior, and you mentioned the fact how you were punished or you were reprimanded in such a way that somebody said to you, look, if you want to get a blie, according to us Jamaicans, just say you're gay for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was like I've been fighting for a long time. So what essentially had happened that really broke it for me was I was on an exercise, and I was ripped from my group and ripped from this group and threw into another group midway through our cycle. And in this new group, there was a gentleman, there was a guy, and he basically said, you know, I don't like black people. I don't like you because you're black. And I was like, I don't care. Let's just get to work. And he just kept hounding the point that he didn't like black people. So I said, you know what, don't tell me, tell the supervisor, because we got work to do. I'm not using ranks. I'm trying to stay away from using ranks and stuff like this. But he essentially said this. And then as a result, the supervisor removed me from the day shift and put me on the night shift. On the night shift, I was there was less traffic, there was less activity. So I had a lot of opportunity to really assess what was going on with the exercise. And I developed a program that essentially predicted with I would say 75 to 87% accuracy what would be happening based off any little bit of information that was plugged into the system. And I presented that to my group in the morning because I was on the graveyard shift. The individual had taken that and he was able to discern some high value targets within hours of starting his shift. At the end of that exercise, the base commander, the person in charge of that exercise on the Canadian front, was handing out coins, and this is a big deal to get a coin from these individuals. And he came to our little troop, our little unit, because being an intop, you're really segregated from everyone else anyway, right? You know, because you have to deal with top secret information. You're dealing with the highest level of secrecy in that unit. So he came to our little troop and he handed this guy a coin, asked him how he did it. Oh, I just used the system. So that was created by the team. So at the end of that, he got all kinds of accolades for how he was able to find these high value targets. And what I got on my record was dealt with interpersonal conflict really well.
Right.
That's when I saw that there was a serious problem.
Yeah. Okay. Now, eventually, we know what happened.
No. So now I'm back and I'm talking to someone, and it's getting out that I'm having these issues. I'm skipping a lot of the fight that I had to go through, but there was an individual and he actually wanted to help me, and he didn't know how. So he suggested that I act like I'm gay for a couple of weeks to get more respect.
Did you have any suitors?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how to respond to that. I understand you're being funny, but I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
Because on the one end, he's trying to help. You know, it was the same kind of tone. You know, he's trying to help and he's trying to be funny, but at the same time, he was semi-serious. He understood what was going on with honor, so he was just pretend to be in his mind. That was a thing that you could actually try.
So our hour is going very quickly, as I told you, always does, and we want to get to your book. Yeah. So you were able to rise through adversity, because trauma is something that is folks don't understand how much it affects an individual.
Yeah.
Right now, look at the pandemic, right? the
Exactly.
result, a lot of young people,
Yeah.
the anxiety,
Yeah.
the bipolar, the schizophrenia,
Oh, okay.
all of those issues
Yeah.
are now getting a lot more attention than usual. And
Yes.
not just attention, but I mean, there's also how does like
How
the
do they cope?
police
Yeah.
relate? Like, you know, we've seen women jumping off the balcony.
Yeah.
And it's just so much. Like, trauma is not fun. And we're not talking about trauma from a brain injury in a car accident,
Yeah.
like another guest we're going to bring on in March. But you were able to turn this around and make it positive.
Yeah.
Because every time I talk to you, I have nothing but admiration. I have nothing but respect. And I haven't even met you. We haven't even met you
Yeah.
yet, right? So we're going to take a couple of emails.
Yeah.
We have quite a few coming in.
There's a lot of
And
emails
then
this
for the
evening.
next while, we're going to talk about your book.
Yeah.
And then you can share with us exactly how you were able to use your experiences, which are bad experiences, turn them around and come up with a fantastic series, not just a book, but a series.
Well, good. And with that,
Okay.
let me just remind our listening audience, if you are joining us for the first time or you have joined us, midstream, you're listening to the Liquid Green Health Show, and we are the Coxes, and our guest today is Stephen Walker. I forgot his name.
Stephen Walker.
Yeah, I got a brain freeze there. Stephen Walker. And he's an author, Montreal resident, and we'll get back to him in a minute. But you're listening to Liquid Green Health Show on Reality Radio 101. Let me just read. We have quite a few emails this evening. Let me read the one here from Kyle. And Kyle is saying, especially here in Canada. So I was just wondering. Oh, he's referring to, what were we talking about there?
Last week?
Yeah, this is last week. Jamaicans are known to be potheads, especially here in Canada.
Oh, of course they are.
I was just wondering, no, I don't smoke it. Very bad for you. We were talking about, about marijuana.
Right. Somebody wants us to bring on, to talk more about cannabis.
Right.
And definitely it's one we're looking for a guest, right? But Sherry said, hello to Janet and Fred. Looking forward to your show tomorrow. We get lots of emails
during the week, yeah.
So thank you, Sherry, for sending that in. She says it sounds very interesting and I hope you're enjoying it.
Right. Here's another one from Andrew. I'm a fan of Deacon Adams. Wow. Thanks for having him on your radio broadcast today. This is from Andy. Thank you very, Andy. So you have a fan there, my friend.
Thank you.
Here's one for another one. There's quite a few. I'm not going to read all of them because there are quite a few this evening. This is one from Janice, and she said, "Hello, Liquid Green folks. You get the picture." Again, this is referring to our topic last week. We were talking about
the soul food versus vegan. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Right, go ahead.
Okay. So your book.
Yeah.
Sunderman, and I will show it to the audience. Frederick, you want to hold that?
Yeah, for those of you that are watching us on YouTube, this is a copy of the book. It's available on Amazon, and we encourage you to go get it.
Okay. Now, but you're not going to find it under the name Stephen Walker. It's going to be under the pseudonym Deacon Adams. How is that? Why is that?
Yeah. So essentially, while I was dealing with all this stuff in the military, I needed an outlet. At the time, I didn't feel like I was educated enough in the field of psychology to know how to express myself in a conducive manner. So I internalized a lot of it, and I started writing, and I started building this world, like what ifs and how comes and all these stuff. Not to say that I wasn't actually fighting. I was developing myself in that regard as well. But conversely, because I didn't really have anyone I could relate to unless they tell me like, oh, just act like a homosexual. I internalized it a lot, and I was building this world, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Like they had they had politics, they had all these geo-economic issues, socio-economic issues, and I was like, yeah, this is. And I was like, you know what would be good if eventually I just wrote a tell-all, and I was like, if I write a tell-all, then I'm going to really affect a lot of people, because a lot of people who are very close to me
And then
would be impacted by what I would have to say. So I was like, maybe I should just write under the name Deacon, under a pseudonym, and Deacon Adams. I chose Deacon Adams for a series of reasons.
okay.
And I started writing, and I just started writing this book, but then it got to a point, it was so severe that I had become suicidal, and my son was just born, and his mother is not melanated, she's not Black. So she didn't really know how to relate to me. She was doing the best she could with the, it's not about your skin, it's about your soul, all that stuff for as long as she could.
Doing the best she could.
Yeah, for as long, but eventually after she'd witnessed me be hospitalized for panic attacks and then the aggression take over, it was hard for her, and I totally understand that. So I was left alone. So I became suicidal. Like, she came back here. She came to Montreal to be with her, to live with her mother. And I was left alone with these disorders and all kinds of stuff. And I had this story, like a manuscript, it was huge, of just these countries and stuff. And I didn't know what would happen tomorrow. Every day I didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow with all these suicidal thoughts. So I said, I will do something for my son, leave something so he could understand what it is that I was dealing with. And then I just took to writing. And every day I took elements from the story and I started actually making a story just about this guy, and then the people he has to deal with, and then how they deal with him, and how they're dealing with the situation, and how they're affected by it. And then before I knew it, I had actually built Sunderman Book 1.
How long did that take you then?
So the story, so building the world and all that stuff, that was bit by bit over the course of 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
But when I actually settled in, I was somewhere in England, let's just say that.
Okay.
And I had this idea that, like, let's make it real. And I just started from there. And then within a year and a half, from start to finish, publishing, finding an editor, finding a designer, it took about a year and a half. But that was every day, nonstop. Every day I put work into that.
And I hear that's what authors have to do. I have a friend who's writes. She's put out about 3 books now.
Yeah.
She says she writes every day. But when we bought your book on Amazon, you said it's available through what's the company? It's available.
I have a website, a wellness promotional website, and it's called tamperstudios.com. Tamper, yeah, like TAMPER studios.com. So, like, if anyone clicks for tamperstudios.com, they'll be directed right to the Easter egg page, I like to call it. And it gives a little bit about the book. They can read the first chapter for free.
And full disclosure here, folks, when we wanted to order the book, and Frederick said, "Oh, Janet, it's like $22." And I said, "What? For a paperback?" And of course, Amazon Prime, you get it the next day, because we've been buying some books, but they're like, $10, etc. I thought fair price for paperback. And Frederick, to your credit, says, "Well, you don't know, you haven't seen the book yet." And when the book came and I saw, oh my God, then I thought, oh my goodness, this is only $22 because of the amount of time and energy that might have gone in. And we have been reading it. And the story is
very detailed.
The story is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's set in a world of corporate control.
We're just going to read the back of it.
Yeah, the book is called Sunderman Ages Breaking, and immediately preceding the second armistice of the continental conflicts, the world was unified under corporatic rule, which the corporations control everything now, right? And shortly after that, the Transparency Act was established, and each qualified individual implanted with a civil chip. And people are talking about that now.
Where did that idea come from? This is so futuristic. This novel takes place in 2048. It's just a few months in 2048. Yes. I think from September till October.
Yeah.
As it goes as far as November.
Good 20 years now. Yeah. Oh, with this story takes place over a few months in 2048. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. But a lot has happened in those few months, because you have, privacy is considered to be taken away from the general public.
Yeah. And the Transparency Act.
And people now cannot get access to certain facilities unless they have that chip that's implanted. Sure. That in turn has caused rift and a potential civil war
Yeah.
right?
So,
Yes.
It's a very well written book.
so I'm going to ask you to just share with our audience, if you were just to give a synopsis of what the story is in your own words. Let's hear it from the author.
So I would like to take it from the perspective of Tevin, one of the characters in the story.
Yeah, I thought at first Matthew was the main character, but
Yeah, Matthew is kind of like our segue character,
okay,
because he was there through the continental conflicts,
yeah,
and then he was kind of rushed into this new one world order. And I won't give too much of details, but now he's in a new world. Like, so to him, what was he fighting for? And now we're in this fragile utopia. So he's our segue character into this new world. But through Tevin's perspective, he would have been raised right next to the refugees who had come over during the end of the armistice, and they had to come over with the beta product, which is the Yoon chip.
Mhm.
So it's not associated to the civil chip program. So they're locked away in these communities that aren't directly connected to the main society. And he's been able to make friendships and stuff like that. But then he starts to see essentially the mistreatment, not only for them, but also for people who live in proximity to them, the way they structured the world around these no-sit communities. They're called no-sit communities, which is not of citizens.
yeah,
And it's essentially, he made a choice to not go the route that most people go, which is to join the radical groups or any of the criminal groups that actually organize and prepare and
like the syndicates, the Warhead. I know
yes,
Warhead
exactly.
syndicate.
The Waters Syndicate, especially.
This is like the mafia, the big organization, and then we have all the others that are trying to infiltrate or trying to be recruited.
Yeah.
This organization.
All these
Is
little
that
criminal
for
gangs.
protection?
Yeah, it's like more for protection. You would look at them in their community from their perspective. The Waters Syndicate pretty much represents the government in the no-sit communities. So who would not want to be a part of government? Who does not want that protection? Who does not want all the niceties that come with working with the Waters? So he's able to see this on one end. Plus, he's got the cultural aspect of being Ichijo. He's an Ichijo, and there's a lot of stuff that they had to deal with, a lot of generational discrimination that they've been through. So he decides to take, what he believes to be the high ground with his ambitions. And you basically watch as, he deals with all these issues and these.
I want to get back to the health aspect of it. When you were writing this, with all these, characters and imaginary cities and the things that are happening to the people, was this your way of saying to the establishment, listen, this is what you guys are doing, and this is what could happen if changes are not made?
I like that you say that, but it was more, the better way to put it, considering what I've seen as an intelligence operator, is more, I wanted to communicate to people who are less aware that this is what is happening, and you're either a part of those who don't really see, or you see and you choose to be silent. Yeah. I don't want to be waving a fist at the establishment because, it's out there, I may be, fortunate enough to live in a first world country, but the news is out there and we know what's going on in these third world countries. We know what's going on. It looks like nothing's happening here, but things are happening, things are moving, and it's a matter of whose side are you on? What do you know, and how do you fit into all this? So that's what I wanted to demonstrate essentially.
And it's amazing you say that, because this has always been the problem. Are you a part overtly of the problem, or are you a guilty bystander who stands by and then watches it happen? You watch as it happens and you do nothing. That means you're just as guilty as the perpetrator.
Exactly.
And we have seen that in all of these with the cops, even the most recent ones with the black cops and the black guy in the States. Right?
Yeah.
Many people get charged because or even in the army with Hitler, it's the same story. How much do you just follow orders? Or do you have a humane right to dissent?
Well, you have it's a very complicated topic, because it affects us in so many ways. In his case, it was a health issue that eventually, caused him to be where he is today.
It was a health issue that was caused, like he didn't go in with his health issue.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a
result.
It's a result
that
that type of behavior by individuals and the institutionalized
that perpetrates it, that it to a degree almost glorifies the behavior.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you're just for the sake of saying, because it could be on both sides as well, but if you're like a white male who understands the system well enough to know how to rule your subordinates in such a way that keeps them ignorant to what is accessible to them, it's almost like you're glorified for being able to keep them dumb.
Yes.
So the moment that you have someone who's not dissenting, but who's using the system the way it was said to be used, now they're like, well, okay, now he understands the system. Well, now we have to put the system in play. And when the system is in play, that's when you start to see how the strain of whatever they're doing can take effect. Because if you have a certain amount of time to build, let's say, a harassment complaint or a grievance, even the way it's structured is you have to tell the person, I'm going to grieve against you weeks before you actually grieve. So they know it's coming. So the treatment changes. So if you don't know that the law says, and this is Canadian law, if you don't know that the law says, if you were to do something like file a harassment complaint, and then you start to notice changes in people's behavior towards that complaint, that in itself is a part of the harassment. You can extend that to your charges. So most people don't understand that, but the more you play into the truths about what the system is good, but it's structural in that if you're complaining and you have a month to set something up, to put something out, and they have 2 weeks to come back to you, they will wait till the last 2 weeks to come back to you, and they'll keep you in that state of strain.
Yes.
Then you run out of time.
You run out of time. Yes. And that in itself is what breaks you down. It breaks you down.
I want to come back to the novel for a minute, because you have a strong female character.
Yes.
I think her name is Ashneen.
Ashneen.
Yes, Ashneen. Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you come up with these names? Like you have Kabel, you have Miyoha, you have this switch.
It's okay. You can even bring him on camera. We can tolerate that. Yeah.
Oh, he's so
He
cute.
just woke up.
We can tolerate that.
Oh,
He loves his daddy.
it's Family Day coming up, right?
He just woke up.
Yeah, that's wonderful. He's so cute. What's his name?
His name's Kingston, not named after the city.
Oh, not the kid, not Kingston, the city.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about Ashneen, and then I'm going to ask you another follow-up question.
So Ashneen, she's actually the product of the refugees. She's actually the product of the refugees. So she came over with her family and was in the no-sit communities. Her family did all that they could to make sure that she was issued a civil chip, and she took advantage of that and completely, did well with her ambition. 1 second.
Okay, so while he's doing that, let me just get to a couple more emails here. Okay, it's Family Day, and Kingston just want to be with his dad. Here's one from Monique. What did Fred do in the military? Love you guys. I'm not gonna reveal that secret.
I know what he did was he disobeyed orders, and he has had to do some work because of disobedience to a superior officer.
Here's another one from Carl. Fred is so right about the government workers. A lot of those folks are not really good at what they do. I wouldn't necessarily agree with you there, Carl, but that's your opinion. But a lot of them, if not most, are there for the salary, pension, and security of the job. Thanks for sharing the truth. Happy Family Day.
Might I say something about that?
Sure,
yes.
Sure.
I experienced a lot of discrimination, and it got to a point where I was put in front of my lieutenant colonel, who is a base commander. And when it was presented to me personally, I got to sit directly with this individual. and he was absent to how bad it was. He was able to help me put together a committee called the Race Committee, which stood for Racial Awareness, Comprehension, and Elimination. So it's not to say that everybody is bad. There are some good people, but it seems like when they're noted, so for instance, he had no power over positions. So I could have been posted anywhere in that base. When I started the Race Committee and the Race Committee started to take effect, I was posted completely out of that base.
Ah.
Yeah, I could have been posted anywhere in that base, but they took me completely out of that base. And lo and behold, under the supervision of a self-proclaimed racist. So it's stuff like that. There are some good people, and for the most part, they're unaware. And that's some of the stuff I like to describe in the book, is that it's not everybody's out to get you, and not everybody's playing the victim card. Not everybody's playing ignorant. Some of them actually are ignorant. And then when they actually try to use their ability to support, they either get ostracized as well, or it comes back or harder on the people that they're trying to help.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We have about 10 minutes left on the show.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how fast time flies. So what we're going to do is we're going to
Tell people how
set
they can
this
get the
out.
book.
Yes. Tell us again, Deacon Adams, Stephen Walker, writer, pseudonym, Steve. How can we get your book? Because you know what? It's a fascinating story. Your story is very interesting. And I'm not quite finished, but I did cheat and I went to the end and I realized I went about halfway through and I realized time.
I'm gonna finish it on time.
To talk to you before, so I cheated. And I really like how it ended, because now I'm going to have to complete it. I'm not going to.
Oh.
And he didn't either.
Okay.
Because what he did was he says, well, to be continued. So it is a series, and this is the first one. All right.
Yeah.
So just tell us again, best way to reach you, how to get your book, and then we will send it out again during the week to our listening audience.
So the best way to reach me is on Instagram at dirty_deacon. So that's DIRTY_DEACON.
Sorry, say that again. EIERITY?
No, dirty_deacon.
Dirty.
Dirty. Okay.
Like a deacon doing the dirty work.
Okay.
For the good cause. So a dirty_deacon.
And that's on Instagram.
Pardon?
That's on Instagram.
Yeah, that's Instagram. That's the best way to reach me. The best way to get to the book is on Amazon. If you type in Sunderman Book 1, Aegis Breaking, they will be able to get it. Even if you put in Sunderman and Deacon Adams. But you can also get, like, if you want a direct line and you don't want to go through the hassle of searching through books, you think you're going to get it wrong, go to tamperstudios.com.
That's the one I like. That's how I got it.
Yeah.
TAMPER studio with an S.
Yeah, studios.com.
Yeah, tamperstudios.com. That was easy.
Okay, and there you have it, folks. Tamperstudio.com.
You can just Google that, and then
studios.com. You can pick up a copy of Sunderman Aegis Breaking, Book 1, or you can also reach him directly on Instagram at dirty_deacon.
Okay, we're just going to rush through a few emails. Don't go away yet, just in case we have some that you'd like to respond to. Oh, Dave says, hey to Janet and Fred, your guest today reminds me of Denzel. So something, hopefully, if your book gets picked up by Netflix, that would be awesome. Would you want to be, the question I wanted to ask you was, which character are you in the book? Are you a character, or how does that work?
No, each one of those characters, I'm in each one of those characters, right down to Ashni, right down to her story, right down to Branson's story. I don't want to give any more of the characters, but like each one of them, I made sure that there was elements of my experiences in them.
That's an Eddie Murphy. That's an Eddie Murphy trait.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Each character,
And Ken says, nice show. Donna says hello to you and your guest. This is a very interesting story. I am going to buy the book. P.S. Fred, you are so hilarious.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here's one from, was that Donna you just read?
Yes.
Here's one from Sam, and Sam says, interesting today, Coxes. Be well. Thank you. Thank you very much for that one.
And thank you for the happy family day from
Here's
Jody.
one from Joe. Oh yeah, Jody says, happy family day to all of you. And Eric says, we read that earlier. Excellent show today. Thanks for sharing this information. Happy Family Day. And I think they were referring to last week.
No, that
show.
was today. The information.
No, the picture.
today.
The picture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, that is what they're having today.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Right.
Nice meal. Excellent. Here's one from Roy. And they wanted to know what topic was on today.
Okay.
Well, you just heard it. Thanks for that one, Roy. Tim, after going outside yesterday in the cold, my rewards soul food.
Oh, that was last week.
That was last week. Yeah.
From Gordon, we're gonna end with this one. And Gordon says, Fred, you are so funny. Where did they get this idea?
I don't know, man. They just love me. That's all.
Yeah.
Monica says, Happy Family Day, Coxes. Oh, you didn't finish
No,
that
it
one?
wasn't
Oh,
finished.
sorry.
Congratulations on your listeners. Always a pleasure to listen to you and learn. I am from Tacoma, Washington. So thank you.
Thanks for that one.
And thanks for listening. And thank you to the community because we are growing. And you were going to read the last one?
There are many last ones. We're not gonna, if we didn't get to your email, folks, we're sorry. In the interest of time, we'll just pick a few. All right. This one, no vegan, one attachment. And again, yeah. All right. So let's get back to our guest. This really is interesting. I mean, a lot of people knew that, certain shenanigan goes on in the military.
Yes.
But to get it directly from someone who's there, and I mean, we've heard the stories. You've heard about women being mistreated. You heard about LGBTQ people being mistreated. You heard about gay people being mistreated. But when you get it from someone who has experienced it, then you get a different perspective. We know that in every institution in North America, there is a built-in bias, right? Unfortunately, people of color, well, I don't like to refer to us as people of color, Black people.
But also people of color.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Black people per se, because everybody has a color.
Okay.
Right. So when they talk about people of color and they put you into these categories, marginalized people, they make you feel inferior. Yeah. Right. And it's done purposely.
Like BIPOC now, BIPOC, right?
Yeah.
Indigenous people.
Right.
For
and then
it says Black, Indigenous, and
right. And then they put you into another category the media uses, racialized people.
Yeah.
You need to avoid listening and accepting those labels because it makes you think differently of yourself.
As if you're secondary.
Yeah. Right. And you got to be careful who's pushing these monikers on you. So kudos to you, Stephen, for having the strength and the desire, the willpower to stand up to a system and to avoid getting into the trap where it could seriously injure you mentally.
Yeah.
Right. You were able to get out of it and still hold on to your faculties. And I congratulate you on that.
I want to say thank you, but if you had been watching my Facebook account from the last year to now, you'd probably have a different opinion on that. It was definitely an effect, but it was the fortitude to not be allowing, like you said, those monikers to take hold of me. It was not allowing them to shape me. It was basically a fight against something as opposed to an internal battle. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's essentially.
And I want to just add something. You have a handsome little boy in your arms there. Yeah. And there's going to be a challenge just raising him. Because here we have a biracial child, your dad who has been through so much. It's going to be like, how do you know what are you going to instill in him? Because he's not Black, he's not white. But, he's not only Black or only white. Yeah. But of course, in our society, he will be considered Black.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's
a whole slew of nuances that you're going to experience. But again, I want to thank you for having the courage to do what you have done. And I wish you all the best. Abundant success to you in your future endeavors. And hopefully one day we'll be reading about this as a,
I like movies.
as a blockbuster.
I'm hoping to be watching it.
Okay.
Okay.
Make
so
that happen then.
go ahead,
Yeah. So
Frederick.
with that, again,
Close
thank you
out.
very much. We're going to end our show. This has been a wonderful day.
Mhm.
to-
So fast.
Yeah, time goes so quickly.
Janet,
And Kingston, have fun. Enjoy the day with your dad.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're going to end today's show, folks, by our usual
Mhm.
statements. Good health is central to human happiness and well-being. It contributes rather significantly to prosperity, wealth, and even economic progress. And as healthier individuals, we can be more productive and may even live a little bit longer. So until next Sunday, same time, same station, this is Janet and Fred Cox saying, let's stay healthy on Reality Radio 101. Enjoy the weekend.
Yes. Happy Family
Happy
Day.
Family Day,
Or
folks.
whatever holiday yours.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101.